And hello, everybody. Welcome to 2013 and welcome back to History Pitch. I think this might be our 7th episode, which is a lucky number, I think. So I'm expecting big things today. In the studio, I have the loyal band of radio people, Artemis, Jagveer and Josie, who are cracking up laughing at me already. It's a good beginning. And we have a really, truly, quite spectacularly disastrous array of consumables, including hand wash. She brought hand wash, Artemis, which we will definitely post, because some of it should not be eaten before or drunk before 12 o'clock, definitely. But let's begin as usual. We've got an exciting lineup. Erika and I, now please listen to the segment of Erika and I, because we actually talk proper history, and it's quite exciting. We get quite excited about methodology. Woohoo! And Simon, curmudgeonly Simon, is back being curmudgeonly. We might revive, what's his name? Sam Aylett, who we had a recorded episode from him from before Christmas, so you can just go into a time warp for a bit. There'll be some people dying, there'll be some dumb people, and Jagveer is here. He's going to tell us who he thinks he is. Well, we might find out who he thinks he is. But first, to this day in history. So what happened today? Josie.
Okay, so today in history, in 49 BC, Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon, signalling the start of the Civil War. And then in 1776, Common Sense was published by Thomas Paine, which is obviously quite influential book.
Obviously, Thomas Paine, that's right, America, roll on. You want me to scroll down? Okay.
In 1901, oil was discovered in Texas.
Yes.
In 1920, the League of Nations was established. In 1923, the last US troops left the Rhineland after the First World War. In 1928, the Soviet Union ordered the exile of Leon Trotsky, who would then go on to be assassinated in the US.
Ice pick back.
Well, I think it was to his head, wasn't it? Yeah,
head.
And it sort of swelled up really big, and they had front page pictures of it, and it was quite gross. And I can't see anything else. Does anyone else see anything?
Yeah, 1943, the Russians begin an offensive which will enclose the German armies around Stalingrad, signaling their defeat, or string of defeats, back to Berlin.
Okay. 1962, you have one of the most devastating avalanches in Peru, where 4,000 people die.
Wow, so that's quite comprehensive. What is the date today?
10th,
it's the 10th of January.
Yeah.
Okay. There we are. That is the 10th of January in history. So let us begin, as we normally do, with me talking to Erika Hanna. Let's see how this works. It's going to be a bit of a getting used to the old technology situation for Tamson again. Let's see, here we are.
13. How was your New Year?
Yeah, super glad to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, but welcome back to History Pitch. I mean, I'm sure all our listeners out there, didn't know what to do with themselves the 2 weeks we were gone.
Well, I didn't know what to do with myself either.
So, what are we going to talk about today?
Okay, today, Tamson, we're taking a lurch into the darkness, and instead of talking about culture, we're going to talk seriously, okay, about something that impacts on us all as historians. We're going to talk about digital humanities, because
Are you saying that when we talk about culture, we're not being serious? Is that what you're saying?
No, as a cultural historian, we're being incredibly serious. I have to take that back now, but this is a whole new realm for us.
Yeah.
Culture is kind of our safe territory. If I was Sharon Osbourne, I'd say we're moving out of our comfort zone now. Okay, we're going to talk about digital humanities today.
What do we wear when we move out of our comfort zone into these realms?
I have no idea. Something padded.
I'm wearing Ugg boots.
Oh my God, Tamson, I've been dressing like a Sloane the last few days. I've been wearing a pashmina and a gilet, a padded gilet. So I think that's perfect.
Too much time in Guildford. Guildford. Go back to Leicester.
Welcome to the home counties.
Okay. So I'm excited about digital humanities. Is this going to be, we're going to talk about big data, right?
Yeah, well, okay, can I just introduce this by saying I set Tamson some homework, and I set her an article from the March 2012 issue of the Journal of Modern History was it even called Walking? A History of Walking in the Digital Humanities? Because I thought this was an interesting jumping off point for us both.
And I'd like to say that I did my homework, and I've even made some notes.
Oh, fantastic. I think I made some notes as well, but I've lost them. I'm just like I was as an undergrad.
Okay, so tell us what this article was proposing.
Okay, this article basically proposes that there's this enormous amount of data online in terms of Echo, early 18th century collections online, in terms of Google Scholar, in terms of digitized newspapers, and what do we do with it? The author proposes this as an exciting potential of providing us with new ways of scholarship, and this is good. I think this initial hypothesis is good because there's an awful lot of commodity old historians out there, and I don't know if you've had a Tamson, I've certainly had it, where they go, it took me 3 months to do what you did in 2 days, and you don't understand the archive the way I understand the archive because you just put that into whatever, the Times Online or something. And, often I think younger historians get criticised for not having this sort of critical, almost like physical relationship with the archive because of our use of digital sources. So it's really, really fun to see someone turn it around and say, this is a bonus and this is great. This actually provides us with new methodologies and new exciting ways of doing things. I think that is the good bit. After that, I was less sure because then she just listed different words.
Yeah, okay, hang on. So she is very excited about the potentials of digital humanities.
Yeah.
She also does talk about the caveats. She's got some pretty big caveats, right? One of which is it is difficult for all sorts of reasons. And if you listeners have ever want to waste for 20 minutes in a kind of highly justifiable way, go to Google Ngram and type in some words, right? Google Ngram, brilliant. But she talks about why conceptual history is perhaps not the best thing to do with word selection, right? Word occurrence, which is what Ngram chases.
Yeah.
Because the terms of words change, and then she's all these problems about how many texts are inputted and all the rest of it. But her argument is that when you're talking about practice or concrete acts, right, like walking, you can actually get quite a long way because that's a description that doesn't necessarily change its meaning. It might appear and disappear, which is what then the rest of her article is about, isn't it? She's really obsessed with the difference between lounging and striding.
Lounging and striding was key. And okay, to me, the thing that was exciting to me about this piece was the idea. It's about halfway through. I found my notes in the intervening time. Was the idea that cultural history is about the small scale, and it's about the really, really quite sort of forensic dissection of words and languages and discourses and signs, and that digital humanities provide us with a way of doing something bigger with this. And I thought that was really, really exciting because, to me, that's where I want cultural history to go. I want cultural history to be able to think about large-scale processes and the exciting methodologies that I think are interesting and shaped me as a historian. I want to be able to apply them to the large scale, and this is sort of the argument she makes. But
I don't think, I don't think what she goes on to do bears this out. What I think she goes on to... So she makes this point about, the big processes, which I kind of actually agree with. But then what she uses them to do, basically, is to find individual instances of word usage, which she then examines in detail. So you've got these two scales in operation, which totally miss out the intervening level. Now, maybe that's fine, because that intervening level used to be things like the political persuasion of newspapers or national frames or all the rest of it. But for much of the middle bit of that article, I was like, oh, this is all very interesting, but I don't see what it's got to do with digital humanities.
No, this is exactly my problem with this article, and I'm sorry to your listeners, they just need to go away and read this article, because I actually had a big problem with the end, okay?
Oh, so did I. What was your problem?
Where she says, for the time being, it is up to the historian to bring established methodologies to bear on the expansion of digital databases. And I thought this was exactly wrong, because the exciting thing about digital databases is that we bring new methodologies to them, and we don't, if we're doing the same old methodology, we just use use this old methodology to sort of write large what we've done before. Actually, one thing you do is you lose the texture. You actually you lose things like texture, and you lose context, and you actually lose. I think methodology is always particularly suited to the sources we have, and we have to think much more critically about the methodologies we're using. So actually, I thought basically what she does with these digital databases is just uses it to do what she could have done anyway, but it just would have taken her longer. And I actually think, can we get a bit further than that? And can we actually do something a bit different?
That's the GIS argument. That's the GIS argument, right?
Okay.
That's our friend Matthew Holbrook's GIS argument. That actually, I know all this shit. It's just going to take me a little bit longer. I didn't say that word live on radio. But my point about the end is actually the kind of mirror side of your point about the end.
Okay.
Which is she's got this dream, and maybe if you've got it in front of her there, you can read it out. She's got this dream of the exhaustive archive, that comprehensive coverage is possible, and that this is what digital humanities offers us. But this seems to be the most, throwback to a 19th century, fantasy, which is highly problematic. I mean, your point is you bring new methodologies to the new sources, right? So on the one hand, she's got this reification of the old methods, and she's got this reification of this 19th century dream, which is just bollocks.
Yeah. You're swearing a lot now, Tamson.
That wasn't technically a swear word, I don't think.
Okay.
It's a noun.
I think you're right, because basically the reason I'm interested in this is I'm currently obsessed by methodology, okay? And I want to think about what we do when we have too many sources, and I want to think, especially in terms of photography, and I want to think about, so what do we do with the fact that there's 500 photographs taken every second? What do we do with that as a source? Is there anything we can do with that as a source? And actually, as historians, how do we encounter the problem of the many as opposed to the problem of the few and the specific? This is another question I'm interested in at the moment, and I'm interested, clearly, digital humanities works for me because it's a way of talking about these issues. But at the same time, I don't massively think we've reached a stage yet where we actually know what to do with these questions. And I don't massively think this woman provides an answer either.
No, I think you're right. And in fact, I think what we need to do is embrace the fact that the flood of data means uncertainty, because actually this makes methods all the more important. And there's always going to be uncertainty in the project of knowledge, like it's intrinsic to it. If you're an early modernist, your uncertainty comes from not having enough sources, right? Our uncertainty comes from too many. So they're both other aspects of the same problem, I think. And so if you're obsessed by methodology, that's like exciting. That's where it's at.
That's where it's at, Tamson. So this is basically, I think we could talk a lot more about this. Digital humanities is the way forward, but I'm not quite sure how yet.
Okay, well, we'll return to this because I think our listeners have had about as much methods as they can handle. But this has been great, Erika. We should put on our Ugg boots in our gilets and venture forth into the dark, dark world of
exactly
more often.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to doing that next week.
Excellent. Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Erika. I had such a great time listening to that. It was hilarious. And it was also full of insight. But we're back now in the studio. I've had some ouzo and things are looking up. So Josie, hello Josie.
Hello.
How was your Christmas?
It was quite good, yeah.
What TV did you watch?
A lot of the Real Housewives program.
Oh, what's that? I don't even know.
Basically, they film American Housewives, the really rich ones, but they have them for different cities in America. So you get ones in Manhattan, and then you get ones in Los Angeles, and then they're just all over the place being rich and doing rich people things.
How does that make them real?
Because it's not a scripted show, or it says it's not a scripted show, and that makes it fun.
Okay. So what insights do you learn about the life of the American elite?
Well, one woman spent about $1 million on a diamond necklace that was a lollipop holder, and that was a very interesting insight.
Yeah, a lollipop holder.
A grown woman.
This is, okay, let's just say 99%, right? Let's just say we are the 99%. Okay, but we're here back to talk about some dumb people. Or just some dumb ways to die?
No, that's Artemis.
Oh, that's you. Sorry. This is what's happening when you bring this sort of thing in. We're going to talk about what? What are we going to talk about? Lucky people. Lucky people.
Luckiest people.
Don't go, please. It's your fault. Lucky people. Who is lucky this week?
Okay, this week we're going to talk somewhat controversially about Adolf Hitler.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
But we're not going to talk about the usual stuff. We're going to talk about how he was an incredibly lucky person, because not only did he allegedly survive the abortion that his mum wanted to do, but the doctor then persuaded her out of. So from the offset, it didn't happen.
So, okay.
So he was lucky in that respect, and then he grew up, survived the First World War, then went on to be the leader of the Nazi Party. But the area of time I want to talk about today is between 1933 and 1945, when he had about 42 known assassination attempts.
Really?
Yeah, like, not even just sort of someone casually thought that they were going to kill him, but people actively tried to kill him and did not succeed.
So that's like one a week.
More than
one a week.
No, because it's over a period of like 12 years.
Oh, I thought you said 33 and 34.
No, that would be crazy.
That's why I'm right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know about one of these, which is the Briefcase Plot.
Yeah, the Briefcase one is really interesting and very, very lucky, actually, because it's basically one of his members of staff put a briefcase under a table and then went to go away, have a planned phone call so he wouldn't get injured by the bomb blast. And then as he was away, another staff member nudged the briefcase just slightly so it went behind a table leg. And this table leg remarkably stopped the explosion doing loads of damage, because it almost certainly would have killed Hitler and a bunch of his most important men. But instead it just killed like 3 people. But it exploded the room completely. So that's a really interesting one. But also because most of the assassination attempts were by his own generals. So that's kind of interesting. Like,
so what was the motivation for the earlier ones particularly?
It seems to be varied. It's people who just didn't like him, people who didn't like what he was doing, or the amount of control that he had. It's like various things, really. But, like, I think it's pretty special, considering how many assassination attempts that we know of, and how many there may have been hundreds of others that happened that were never recorded or, like, stopped in their tracks. So it's kind of interesting to think about that. And, like, it's sort of, you can delve into speculative history and say...
that's our favourite thing here at HistoryPitch.
Yeah, well, you could say that Hitler surviving was the best outcome if in an alternative timeline he hadn't survived from any of the assassination attempts. Another general could have taken his place and been a lot worse and perhaps a lot better at fighting the Second World War.
Yay for Hitler!
Hitler. But I mean, isn't the way, I don't know, I'm not a German historian, but talking about people's attempts, even failed attempts, is important because it gives us a sense of the agency that people had in the system, which sometimes we think of as totalizing and brutalizing.
And that's why it's especially interesting that it was his own generals and people within the SS who were supposed to be the most loyal people to him. They were the ones trying to kill him, and not the allies or, you know, the average person on the street. It was the people that were closest to him or were supposed to be the closest to him.
Thank you. So we have a small insight into the troubled life of Adolf Hitler between 1933 and 45.
Oh, also, it should be noted that the only person to kill Hitler was Hitler himself. So he's basically invincible.
Yes, on that note, let's just remember, as Tavinder arrives, we're talking about Hitler, Tavinder, that Hitler was also a really bad painter.
I think he was probably just a bad man overall.
Yeah, we can't believe, though, in innate evil. Otherwise...
Well, not necessarily innate, but he was still bad.
Still bad. Bad things happened around him. Yeah, thank you very much. Tavinder, hello. You can see what Addams has done to us. So we're going to return to the safety of recorded history here to see what Sam Aylett had to say before Christmas about local vintage.
Yeah.
Very good. Happy Christmas.
Yeah, fantastic. Happy Christmas to you as well. I love your book Christmas tree.
It's spectacular, isn't it?
For those who can't see it, Tamson's very cleverly constructed a Christmas tree out of books.
Do you know that's trending on Twitter?
I saw it on Twitter. I didn't know it was trending.
Well, it's not actually trending, but it's been retweeted about 50 times.
I'm behind the times on Twitter. I have a Twitter account for it.
So what have you got? Your local vintaging up Storm?
Yes, absolutely. So today, I think I'll wait till the end of this to actually say what it is I'm specifically talking about, because I think it'll work better that way. But what I will touch on to begin with is the Battle of Britain, which is not something I'm actually too familiar with, or something I've looked at for quite a few years. But,
so...
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a brief overview. So in 1940, it was the German Luftwaffe, of course the head of which was Hermann Göring, began their assault in mid-July on Britain, air assault on Britain. They began by attacking shipping channels, coastal towns and air defences. On the 12th of August, Göring shifted his focus to the destruction of RAF airfield bases and radar bases.
Okay.
However, frustrated, Britain were quite tenacious. They fended off quite admirably. So on the 4th of September, under orders from Hitler, they switched their tactics, of course, to bombing London and major cities. So 11 days after they started this bombing of the major cities, the Battle of Britain Day, the RAF secured their victory.
So how are we getting to Uxbridge?
So we're getting to Uxbridge, yeah. So RAF, the Battle of Britain, very significant, we've all heard of it. And this was all conducted from RAF Uxbridge. Most people, I'm sure, have heard or read the quote of Winston Churchill's speech, never in the field of conflict was so much owed to so few. He actually gave this speech upon leaving number 11 Group Operations Room at RAF Uxbridge on the 16th of August 1940. So RAF Uxbridge was instrumental in the Battle of Britain.
So it was where the battle was coordinated.
Absolutely, yeah. The victory, from what I gather from reading about this, is very much owed to all the people that worked there and conducted the air battle there. So absolutely, it was key to our victory.
So what's at RAF Uxbridge now?
At the moment, they have a museum which you can go and visit. Also, which pays tributes to Polish
plane pilots.
Plane pilots, that's it. So drivers. And of course, the Polish War Memorial on the North Circular is also something that I would urge people to go and see.
Then they've also got archives there, don't they?
They do. They have a great many things there. And this museum is now open to the public, which I believe you have to request.
Okay.
Or book in advance.
Where is it exactly?
RAF Uxbridge. It is on Cowley Road, Uxbridge Road rather, going towards Uxbridge Town.
Okay.
It's
not that far.
It's not that far. No, it's easy walking distance, and it is under redevelopment now, or will be very soon. So I urge people. I don't think they're going to touch the museum, but I think perhaps go and see it in its correct context would be good fun. And also, an interesting fact: Lawrence of Arabia, the actor Lawrence of Arabia, learned how to fly there.
Okay.
Or did some kind of air pilot training at RAF Uxbridge Base, which I'm sure most people have, or a lot of people have seen that film. So I urge people to go and see RAF Uxbridge. It's a fantastic place, quite historically significant.
Yeah.
And
great.
studying history of Brunel.
Now I've got a special request for you next time.
Right. Okay.
Can you do something on the history of the campus?
On the campus, yeah, I keep meaning to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know why I keep neglecting it. But yes, I will.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, have a happy Christmas.
And you.
Good luck with your essays.
Oh, thank you very much.
We'll see you next year.
Yeah. Take care, guys.
Thank you, Sam. I hope everyone enjoyed the nice echo effect that I had going on that little bit of recording. But we're back here for everybody's favourite segment, Ready, Play.
Set fire to your hair, poke a stick at a grizzly bear, eat medicine that's out of date, use your private parts as piranha bait. Dumb ways to die, so many dumb ways to die. Dumb ways
To die. Artemis.
Oh, hello, Tamson. Good morning. How are you this morning? Sorry.
Artemis is introducing us to Greek. Cypriot? Greek. Cretan.
Greek. It's always Greek. Come
Culture.
on. Like everything.
Hellenic culture, which
Thank
involves
you.
ouzo at 11 a.m.
Yeah, even earlier. But I'm really kind with you. You're a beginner.
It's ouzo and chocolate. I am a beginner in many things. And she's clearly suffering the consequences.
Oh, yes, I'm going to say really inappropriate things today.
As opposed to normal. So, okay, what inappropriate things are you going to say and who about?
Okay, not yet. I'm just going to speak about dumb people now. So I'm going to talk about Debbie Mills.
Who's Debbie Mills?
She was killed as she crossed the road, which is normal. Happens a lot. But she was to turn 100 the next day.
Oh, no.
But on the way to her own birthday party, she was hit by the truck delivering her birthday cake.
Oh. Oh my God.
Who hits an old lady.
That's tragic.
I mean,
that's not funny. That's
come
tragic.
on, you're a driver. No,
Yeah.
it's really funny. Just be honest here. So you're a truck driver, and you see an old lady crossing the street with what, like a step a minute? I don't know. And how do you manage to
You
hit
kind
her?
of have noticed, don't you?
Yeah.
You can see her a while away. She's not moving fast. She doesn't just step out.
Do something. Whatever. No, so she died the day before.
What did they do with the cake?
What did they do with the cake, Josie says? Good question.
Funeral cake. Come on.
They just scraped
They
off
treated
happy
people. Come on, honestly, she was 100. She lived enough, okay?
Yeah, she was-
give place to us now.
Make way for the young.
Exactly.
Hear that, baby boomers? Hear that? Well, that was pretty. She's unlucky as well. I think she could tag team with Josie.
Why? Come on, she was 100. It was her time. Okay? People have to die at some point. 85, 86, 90 at most.
Really? That's
Maybe it was her family, actually. Can you imagine? In the cake, her bride-in-law just popping from there and saying, "Oh my God."
A daughter-in-law.
Her daughter, yeah.
Daughter-in-law. Okay, well, that's excellent. Good. I hope I'm not going to die that way. But
well, if you're 100, you will be lucky enough. I mean, I'm expecting some cancer in like the next 10 years.
that's true.
There
And
you go.
all my family get Alzheimer's anyway, so
The
it's fine.
Alzheimer's, yeah, fits you. You should have a radio program. That would be funny.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I will actually take that to heart. That's a good idea. I can broadcast through the old folks' home.
Or not that old.
Okay,
folks'
but
home.
moving swiftly along before this becomes complete carnage. Jagveer, I think you need to displace Artemis from the scene.
No,
Oh,
I
you've
need
got
to
more.
say I need to say one more, which is kind of ridiculous. I have Javier, who was Javier. He was Spanish. You know the Spanish people. Shh. Don't be racist. What was that? The Inquisition. Shh.
No,
Shut up,
okay,
people.
tell us about Javier.
Okay.
Move swiftly on.
So he was killed by his landlord for failing to pay his rent for 8 years. So landlord Kurt Weston clubbed his victim to death with a toilet seat after he realized just how long it had been. With a toilet seat.
But it took him 8 years to realise how long it had been.
How stupid was he? I mean, take the toilet seat and commit suicide.
And that was the first thing to hand?
Maybe they were discussing it in a...
Screw those. Yeah, it's heavy though, those old toilet
No.
seats, the old ones. Yeah, they're
Maybe-
made ceramics. You wouldn't know, you're not old enough.
Okay. I know. I'm sorry.
Okay. Jagveer! Woohoo! How are you?
Usual.
Are you right. You're a local misanthrope.
Naturally.
Yeah. Are you comfortable?
Fine.
Do you
I'm
want
fine.
to sit in Artemis's chair?
No, just let her stay there and sober up.
Okay. Tell us. You're going to tell us who you are, who you think you are, who we think you are.
Josie's chair.
Okay, displace Josie. Yeah.
Josie?
So, where did you grow up, Jagveer?
I grew up in Ealing.
Ealing.
Yeah.
Not Ealing Common.
Well,
Or Ealing Broadway.
just the borough of Ealing. There are a
Okay.
particular park called Southall.
Southall.
From what I've done through, and reading through stuff, it's apparently, the name dates back from Anglo-Saxon times where it's called Sud Hill, meaning south corner, because it was once an area covered by forest, and it's a corner of the forest there. in about the Tudor period, it was apparently a hunting ground for Henry VIII.
Oh, right.
And then towards the Victorian period and the late Industrial Revolution, the Grand Union Canal set up 2 branches through Ealing.
We went on that.
Yeah. And then our great namesake, Brunel, built the Great Western Railway, which apparently runs through Ealing, which then led to a rise in industries in the area.
When did the tube reach there? Because, of course, we should be saying happy birthday to the tube. I can't believe we missed
I think that was
the
yesterday.
opportunity. That was yesterday.
Yeah,
But,
Nathan
it's a
pointed
whole
out.
year's festival.
I'm not sure about that part, but I know that towards the Victorian period, lots of the well-to-do left and went to Ealing because it was unpolluted and it was relatively close to London with access to it via train and so forth.
And the river.
Yeah.
Okay, so you grew up there.
Yeah. But obviously I'm an second-generation immigrant.
Second generation. Hang on. Yes, that means you're the children of immigrants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my family came about the 60s or something. From my mother's side, they're descended from the Kenyan and Ugandan Asians.
Oh, interesting. East African Asians.
Yeah, who are descended from colonists brought over by the British to do labour there.
Yes.
Like, for instance, towns like Nairobi were originally just stations where the Indians live, and then they built the infrastructure there as a railway post.
So, and there's like networks of Asian indentured labourers are often thought to have replaced slavery, right? So it's this part of cheap
I know,
labour.
it's very funny because we're physically incapable of hard labour. I thought the joke must be on them. To build stuff in India, they had to use elephants to do heavy lifting.
I mean, that's just not true. Everyone. Okay, but so your mother came from these East Asian migrants.
My father's family, the rest of his family dwells now in Canada, though, like my mother's family, they have roots in Punjab. My mother's family live in a town known as Jalandhar, which is a large city in the east, going back to, I think about 2,000-3,000 years back. As for my father's family, I haven't quite pinpointed them, but they're descended from a tribe called Sarkars, who were an Iranic tribe. They arrived only 400 years before the British came, so about 1,000 years back in India.
Okay.
Before that, they dwelt further north in Kazakhstan. So
why did they migrate south, the Sarkars?
Well, it's quite unsure, because about that time you had the steppes are rather like an ocean.
Yeah.
You have displacement. One tribe defeats one other. That tribe will then move into the lands of another tribe and so on, up until they hit the borders of civilization and then cause all chaos. But they left about, I think, 4th century or something. Possibly it was due to geological changes in the climate. Alternatively, it was just they were flooded by Turks towards that point.
Right,
and then,
so the sort of pressures of moving peoples, yeah.
Yeah, although for a time they essentially used them as, effectively cannon fodder during their confederation. So they would be the ones running things, and they'd just send them out to the army to be slaughtered, and it worked quite effectively.
Yeah, I imagine, except if you were...
Then later on they were forced southwards, and then they settled in Punjab.
In the Punjab.
Yeah.
And did they convert? I mean, what was their religion?
Well, that's the thing. Their religion was probably something close to the original, because in North India is divided differently to the south.
Yeah.
They're Iranians. The first ones were Aryas, who were probably also my ancestors. They brought with them what would become Hinduism. They conquered the Dravidians, who were there first, and also my ancestors. And together they created Hinduism from what came out of that. Then later came other tribes, the Tocharians, a particular group called the Yuji, who were driven out by one of these defeats on the steppe. Then later, the White Huns. And here's the thing, they weren't actually Huns. Apparently they lied and said they were, and that's how they got control.
Because
So that explains where the lying thing comes from.
Okay.
And
and
then
so,
the Sarkars.
So your parents, now if we zoom back to the 20th century, why did they... So they were both in East Africa, or...
My father, I'm not sure, I think he lived in India originally, but his family moved to Canada, I think after...
So his family moved to Canada.
Yeah.
How did he then end up here in Britain?
Wife.
So he came to marry your mother, but how did they meet even? She's in East Africa and he's in Canada.
No, she later moved because quite a lot of the East Asians were forced out during, I think it was like 60s or 70s.
Yeah, that's right, Idi Amin, yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, Britain put up a lot of complaining about that, but in the end it took them in, which is pretty much the opposite of what anyone else would have done. So they then settled in Southall, which is now effectively an Indian colony in London.
Right.
And then he met her.
And so he'd come over for work opportunities. And
yeah, and then, as was tradition, they were arranged marriage. And,
yeah. And they decided to stay.
Yeah. Well, it was either this or Canada, and there's really not really much point going back to Canada. And India, under the rule of the Congress, was simply a hellhole.
Yeah. And I mean, have you gone back to India? Do you go back to see your mother's sort of family?
My mother's family, they moved here. They split up, so some reside... I think they reside in north in Birmingham.
Yeah.
I've been there a couple of times, though my father's family all live in Vancouver. I was only there once when I was 2, which I briefly remember. All I remember was a lot of snow and a Christmas tree.
Yeah, that's Canada, a lot of snow.
As for India, I probably won't be going there anytime too soon, mainly because I can't stand sunlight or heat or being around many Indians quite often.
Then India's not the place for you.
No. I like it far better here.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. I mean, but being fascinated by these places, you seem to have done a lot of research to find out that. I mean, are these stories that are told in your family about the Dravidians and the no?
They didn't talk much about it, mainly because apparently, as with Indian societies as usual, they had this sort of authoritarian streak. You have the parents and the children, and they don't really talk to each other or so forth.
Sometimes they talk at each other.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but these
they
tales...
won't actually talk about these things. So it was through great difficulty I managed to try and get all the way, just look through my family tree up until about my grandparents.
Yeah.
Then about my great-grandparents, it disappears because we have the issue with the lack of surnames.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have them until the British showed up. So you can only go that far. Then what the hell?
Right. So it wasn't resistance on the part of your parents to wanting to talk about the past. It was more a lack of
knowledge. Yeah.
Knowledge, and then maybe they didn't feel like pursuing it. So what made you a historian or someone interested in history?
I think it actually started in year 2, I believe. I sort of gained an interest in history. I think
in year 2, you were 7. Yeah. Okay. Good. That's a good pedigree.
Well, it's mainly I got enamoured because it's a whole sort of different world. Sort of like looking at history, also like a story, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
And then wanting to know more and more.
Yeah.
I believe one of the things was also the way they like Shakespearean language. Also, I had an interest in that. I think that's what led me to develop an accent different to everyone else in the class. So.
Because you read Shakespeare?
No, I didn't read Shakespeare, but I sort of read the pattern of how they would have spoken in that time.
Okay.
And then I developed a sort of posher accent than everyone else around me.
I like these stories because I used to read lots of books because I was a massive nerd when I was a kid and am now. And I used to think, because I only read the word I used to call it hyperbole when I first pronounced hyperbole because I'd only ever read it. I think that's terribly wonderful. So thank you, Jagveer. This has been
You're welcome.
Great. We're going to... Maybe you can tell us about the Dravidians sometime.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, there's some homework. So we're going to now see if we can call Robert Priest, who is in Cambridge. Oh, thank you, Artemis. Let's see if it's going to work. Hi, Rob. Are you good there? Can you hear that, people?
Hello.
Hello, Rob. Happy New Year.
Hi, Tamson. Happy New Year to you too.
Oh, thank you. You sound very quiet. We've been drinking ouzo, so we're the opposite of quiet.
Well, not all of us have the luxury of getting drunk in the morning, Tamson.
I haven't said drunk. We're just lubricating our, vocal cords. So, Rob, how are you?
I'm okay. Okay.
Have you picked a country for us randomly?
Yeah, I did. What happened is quite funny, actually. I went to randomcountry.com, as I usually do, and then I hit choose a country, and it chose Puerto Rico again.
Oh, no. So maybe it's not that random country.
Yeah, but then I just hit spin again, and it did get me a different country.
Okay, and what did you get?
I'm going to give you an audio clue.
Oh, good.
As is the tradition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that was you playing on your computer a clip that I'm playing on my mobile speakerphone that we're broadcasting over the internet.
Yeah, it's seamless.
Yeah, no, that was some kind of hip-hop.
That's That's right. I like the way you say it. Yeah, that was JC, Girls, Girls, Girls.
JC, Girls, Girls, Girls. Are we talking about America?
No.
What are we talking about?
Well, he says, I've got a girl from Peru who sniffs Peru. She's got a cousin that, hang on, she's got a cousin at customs he gets shit through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ofcom did not hear that either. Peru, all right, Peru. We have a very Latin American theme developing because I will talk about Argentina with Curmudgeonly Simon in a bit. But tell us about... Okay, we're going to time you for 60 seconds. Where's our clock?
My record is still 21, is that right?
Yeah, your record is still 21. That was right. Puerto Rico. Have we got a clock going? Okay. On your marks, Rob. Get set. Go.
Okay, Caral, near Lima, is the oldest discovered city in the Americas. It dates to around 2600 BC. It's one of the homes of the Norte Chico civilization, which is the oldest known civilization in the Americas and was contemporaneous with the Egyptian Old Kingdom. The National University of San Marcos is the oldest in the Americas, was founded by Charles V in 1551. It's the only Peruvian university with a Nobel Prize-winning alumnus, namely Mario Vargas Llosa, who won it for literature in 2010. El Peruano, Peru's paper of record, is the oldest newspaper in South America and was founded by Bolivar in Lima in 1825. Spanish colonization in Peru decreased the indigenous population from 9 million to about 500,000 within a century. Peru declared independence under José de San Martín in 1821 and won it in 1824, but its territory has only been fully stable since 1999 after various disputes with Chile, Ecuador and Bolivia. Excluding the Roman bull ring at Arles, the Plaza de Toros de Acho in Peru is the second oldest bull ring in the world, founded in 1766. Potatoes were first domesticated in Peru, perhaps... Stop.
101.5. We gave you 1 second more. Now, there has been some fast and furious dispute between Artemis and I about how many facts you have been, but I give you 20 again. You were including quite a lot of context. I think you've got to strip out the context.
Well, the thing is, I don't want it to... I know it's trivia, but I don't want it to be trivial, Tamson. I want it to be real... I want your listeners to be edified.
This is like Leicester. It's elite without being elitist. You're trivia without being trivial.
Exactly. Trivia without being trivial. That is my motto. So, I can strip down context if you want, but then we're just going to, we're going to end up with a dumbed-down radio show.
Well, we don't want dumbed-down radio, Rob. Exactly. That's the last thing we want here at History Pitch. But I'll leave it up to you. You can sort of be your own regulator, a bit like the press.
Yeah, but it worked well for them.
Worked well for them for a while. Thank you very much, Rob. That's been great. We'll raise a glass of ouzo to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, cheers. Have a good week.
You too. Bye.
Well, there we are, Rob Priest. I hope you all heard that. Yeah. Okay, so we've got one more piece of fun to go. This is Simon. Curmudgeonly Simon is back.
And hello, welcome back to 2013 Curmudgeonly Simon. Happy New Year.
Yeah, I really enjoy January because the rest of the world feels as depressed as I do normally.
I mean, yeah, it must be tough for you the rest of the year. All that sun shining in London.
Well, it is London. Thank God London doesn't really get good weather.
Yeah, you should spend more time in Ireland. You'd be much happier.
No, not in Ireland.
Says the Irish historian. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? I gave you Christmas off, so you can pick the topic.
I'm going to argue that Argentina is right to be angry about the Malvinas.
Argentina is right to be angry about the Malvinas, otherwise known to the rest of the world, including the United Nations, as the Falkland Islands?
Well, most of the world regards it as the Malvinas. Most of the world is on Argentina's side.
I think that's not true. There was a Security Council resolution in something like 1994 after Argentina appealed the last time that agreed comprehensively that they were the British territory. The European Union recognises them as British territory.
I'm sorry, I got confused by all the stuttering.
I know it was a lot of stuttering, but I was going to edit that out. Now I can't.
No, I should remember to do this more in future.
Anyway, so you're trying to suggest that Argentina has a legitimate claim to the Falkland Islands.
I'm going to argue that Argentina's right to be angry about British policy towards the Malvinas, yes.
Why? I mean, why? The Malvinas, the Falklands, I'm so not indulging this linguistic game playing, have switched back and forward between imperial powers since 1690. And Argentina, the United States got in there for a while.
Well, I think what you need to understand is, and what always gets overlooked, is that the Malvinas are not just part of the British Empire. Argentina itself was part of the British Empire. It may not have been coloured pink on the map, but there was a branch of Harrods in Buenos Aires. The commanding heights of the Argentine economy were controlled by British interests. So Argentina was effectively part of the British Empire, and it wants to kind of overcome that legacy.
Okay, so this is the idea that there were parts of the world over which Britain exerted control and informal rule, even though it didn't control governance or have a military presence. Right,
It didn't need to.
I completely accept this idea. This is a standard idea. Argentina, Egypt, bits of China, these are all parts of what we call the informal empire. But the Falklands never was. The Falklands was part of a whole different bit of the British Empire, which was about naval bases and security.
Well, when the Argentine Republic emerged at the beginning of the 19th century, the Malvinas were part of...
That's not true.
Well, they were part of the Spanish Empire because of a secret deal done at the end of the 18th century by the British. And for a lot of the time, immediately after the successor state, the Argentine Republic, had emerged, they were governed by an Argentinian governor.
Britain claimed sovereignty over the Falkland Islands since the end of the 17th century. Then that sovereignty was being disputed by multiple imperial powers, but nonetheless, claims to sovereignty date back. Argentinian claims to sovereignty of the Falklands, I think, date to like the 1830s or 1880s. They're late to the party here.
Well, they couldn't exactly exercise a claim to it before they even existed. And that's very postmodern. That's almost a philosophy question.
Well, since we're talking about postmodern history, I mean, let's think about this notion of exerting legal claims, right? What is the job of the legal claim to territory that's going on here? It's part of a nationalist project that Kirchner is undertaking, which is really about domestic politics.
Well, the reason why she's done this is because it clearly resonates with the Argentinian people. I'm not agreeing with the way the military junta behaved in the 1980s, certainly not. I'm not agreeing with the way Kirchner is handling things. But there was a real feeling amongst the Argentinian people that the Malvinas belonged to the Argentinian nation.
But a feeling doesn't in any way map onto legitimacy. We've all got certain kinds of feelings, but it doesn't mean that we have legitimate claims to them.
Well, international law really just applies to pirates. The rest of it is made up. And
all law is made up, even the stuff about pirates. But the point is, there are people living in the Falklands who have made a self-determined decision to be governed by a council which makes them part of Britain.
That is true, but why can't some sort of deal be reached in which the Malvinas are sovereign territory of Argentina, and yet also the people of that territory can continue to have this connection with Britain?
Is there another country in the world that has that arrangement? I mean, I think at some point this is up to the people who are living in the Falklands. It doesn't matter how Argentina feels. It doesn't even matter how Britain feels. It's up to the people that are living on that rock, of which there's not that many of them out there in the South Atlantic.
Well, then you could wander into very difficult territory here, because then can the people of Cornwall secede from the British Empire?
Well, on that note, on the note of devolution, which I'm sure it could be a topic that we return to, Simon, not least in the context of Scotland, I think we shall end, because I don't think we're going to agree. We never agree.
Freedom for the Malvinas.
Freedom, self-determination for the Falkland Islanders. So next week, we're going to step away from political history, and you're going to tell me why the Beatles ruined pop music.
Right. So you want me to argue that the most successful, most popular band in the whole of human history ruined music?
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're a reactionary. Have a good January.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Simon. Look forward to seeing you next week. Hello, Tavinder.
Hello, Tamson.
Happy 2013.
Happy 2013 to you too. We survived.
We did survive.
We're still here.
Yes, I think that's a good thing.
Okay.
Tell us some things about plans for History Society.
Alas, I have nothing today.
Nothing today.
Nothing today. Plans.
But great things will happen.
Great things will happen. Plans are coming along.
Going forward.
Nothing concrete. Nothing to announce.
Okay, that's all right. We had a very successful Christmas party.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
It was great.
It's great.
Lots of people winning prizes and buying someone shots constantly.
Yeah, Artemis. Let's name check her.
She seems to be on a mission to get everyone drunk.
I know. I'm not sure this is radio material.
That's what we do.
That's what. So you've got some dumb. No, what are you doing? You've got Beetle Babes. I'm just all over the place today. I'm just not back in the hist yet.
It's okay. You weren't planning on surviving, so
no, I wasn't.
Can't blame you.
Yeah, I was going to go down with the Mangats. Tell me, what is it? Beetle Babe.
It's a babe.
Woohoo!
It's a babe. Starting off with an awesome babe. Her name is Jane Addams.
Oh.
She's American.
Yes.
Well, she was American, and she's known as the first female public philosopher in American history.
And Chicago, is this right?
Yes. Chicago. Yes, Chicago. She was a public philosopher, sociologist, author, leader in women's suffrage, and in world peace. She sounds like she should stand for Miss Universe with the world peace. I want world peace.
That's right. Although I think, as far as I remember about Jane Addams, she was the kind of woman that wore sensible stockings and flat shoes. Yeah.
Sensible woman. Very sensible woman.
What else? What? So tell us more. She had a house, didn't she?
Yes. So she started off trying to get into medicine and went to medical school for about 6 years, and then she got very ill and dropped out and went travelling around Europe. And second time...
she had money. She was from a...
Oh, a lot of money.
Where did the money come
her
from?
Dad was very rich, and he died and split the money between her and her 8 siblings. But still, she had something like $1 million... in her bank account.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I could do with that.
It's not bad. And that's $1 million in, 1900s, which is something like,
What did her father make the money from?
Oh, I have no idea. Okay. He was in politics.
Oh, right.
He was a Republican.
Okay, fine. Oil and corruption. So she went travelling through Europe.
Yeah, she went travelling through Europe.
One of those travel experiences that opened people's minds, or did it make her more prejudiced?
Oh, opened her minds.
Oh, did it?
She went to the very first settlement house in London's East End.
Tell us what the settlements are for those that may not know.
They're places where those of the lower class can come and do stuff that the upper classes do. Well, not quite, but it's somewhere for them to socialise, to perhaps do some classes. But it's for their social and educational welfare.
Right, and they were run by the kind of worthies,
by
Church
sociologists,
and worthies, Fabians, So it's a sort of, they're interesting sites because they're both about this top-down rule of experts, but also
it's very much Victorian values in play, educating the masses and instilling Victorian values in them. But Jane Addams sort of went a bit further than that.
But they also become spaces of sociability. Yeah, so we can't
social mobility. Completely. So she went back to Chicago, and with her friend Ellen, I think her friend Ellen Gates Starr, she leased out Hull House, and that house still stands today, and only last year went into administration and stopped being. It went bankrupt.
Oh, that's tragic.
Yeah, I think a year ago exactly this month.
I was in Chicago in January last year. So
January,
this, and there was a big thing about it. Like, would it be saved? Would it become?
No, sadly, it went down. But yeah, so for a good sort of 80 odd years, 80, 90 years, it was standing and still as a place where people can come and attend classes, go to sessions for the working class. She started off having something for children, something for adults, and something for mainly of those who were immigrants from Europe. So people who were new to Chicago, who were still adjusting to American life, And then she went on to help out with rights for African Americans as well. So
I think you have to put her in this. You know, we hear a lot about Saul Alinsky, who is a famous Chicago community organizer, because he influences Obama a lot. And I think you have to put Jane Addams in that genealogy. So she's really interesting because you go back...
Yeah, hugely interesting. She's quite a big figure, and Hull House continues on. It's very successful. But, you know, she's more than just Hull House. She's an ardent feminist. Yeah. She's...
a lesbian.
Yes.
Let's just get that in there, friend.
She's proud of it. And in 1910, she's the first woman to ever get an honorary degree from Yale.
Yeah, good. When?
1910.
Good work.
And
Excellent.
1931, she wins the Nobel Peace Prize.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, 1931. But she dies sort of like 4 years later of cancer. But, you know, and she donates all of her prize money to helping social causes.
Well, yay for Jane Addams. I think there was not a beard in sight.
No, completely not. Do you know what? She's my favourite babe of this entire series.
I think that's true. Yeah, I agree. So far.
No beard at all.
No, well, except for her daddy, who gave her all the money. But
he doesn't really count. All he gave her was money.
Before we go, ladies and gentlemen, I have a very important announcement to make.
The next train to depart from platform 4 is the 1610 First Great Western service to London Paddington. Calling out.
That's right. With thanks to you all, I was successful at the Life in the UK Citizenship Test. Hooray! Woohoo! There were obstacles, there were hurdles. I overcame my own incompetence and I triumphed. And I have not been that nervous, I tell you, since I had to sit my Viva, which was when you have to be interviewed on the basis of your PhD. And then I went to, sorry, that was a bit loud. I went to Croydon, which is a circle of hell, and I sat in the UK Immigration Office for 4 hours and I got permanent residency to remain in this country.
Woo!
Yeah, so that's lovely. So now I can quit my job at Brunel and go on the dole and not be deported. Don't think you should be cheering that. So we've got a problem here, guys. What are we going to do now for this segment?
You're too British now. What are we going to do? We should make sure you're still a bit Australian.
How are you going to do that?
Train you on how the British think and act.
Train you how the British think and act. But what's this? There is a Life in Australia test. You should.
They need a test to keep people in Australia.
Yeah, keep us in. Keep you out.
Oh my gosh!
Sing the White Boomers.
Sing the White Boomers. Okay, so next week we will do the Am I Still Australian? Is Tamson still Australian?
Tamson still Australian.
All right. Okay. Well, everyone has that to look forward to. Okay. Well, thank you very much, guys. We'll see everyone next week. And meanwhile, here is our theme song.